Let's see, we've got, we don't quite have a quorum, but we've got a lot of witnesses here, so do you mind if we begin? So we don't quite have a quorum, almost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a quorum, I'm happy to say, and we have Mr. Solomon's portrait back up here, so it looks very nice with the camera right next to him. Yeah, I do too. We're here for consideration of the Bureau of Reclamation Small Conduit Hydropower Development and Rural Jobs Act of 2011. We're happy to welcome the distinguished chair of the Committee on Natural Resources and the subcommittee ranking member, Water and Power, Ms. Napolitano, and we have Mr. Tipton here as well. So why don't the three of you come up to the table, and welcome to all of you. And without objection, any prepared statement that you have will appear in the record in its entirety, and we welcome your testimony. Mr. Chairman, nice to see you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think this is the first Rules Committee that you have presided over, and post your announcement, if I'm
What announcement?
I don't know. Something was floating around C-SPAN last week. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. No, the commitment that I've made, in light of the fact that we have an abysmally low approval rating, I'm going to do my small part to raise the approval rating of the United States Congress.
Well,
so you may proceed.
Mr. Chairman, like I said all the years that I served with you on here, I wish you the very best.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And thank you and Ranking Member Slaughter for taking up this bill today that will create new American jobs and will eliminate bureaucratic hurdles to small hydropower production. H.R. 2842 passed out of the Natural Resources Committee with bipartisan support, and I request a modified open rule. House Republicans are committed to an all-of-the-above approach to American energy, and this bill reaffirms that commitment by expanding production of hydropower, a clean, renewable, low-cost, emissions-free form of energy. And I might say, Mr. Chairman, in my part of the country, nearly 80% of our total power comes from hydro, so I'm certainly familiar with it. This bill is very simple. It cuts government red tape, streamlines duplicative regulatory process, and reduces administrative costs for developing small canal and pipeline hydropower projects on existing man-made Bureau of Reclamation facilities. Such man-made facilities are already on disturbed ground. They have no environmental impact and have already gone through an environmental review, for that matter. Outdated and unnecessary federal regulation should not stand in the way of clean, renewable American energy production. H.R. 2842 means more rural American jobs, cheaper and cleaner electricity for families and small businesses, reduced reliance on fossil fuels, and decreased dependence on foreign sources of energy. So I want to commend my committee member and a gentleman from Colorado and a gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Tipton and Kozar, for spearheading this plan and bringing this legislation this far. And with that, I will yield back my time.
Well, thank you so very much, Mr. Chair, members. It's good to be here again. Twice in 1 month is really outstanding. I haven't been down here before you for a long time. Thank you for allowing us to be here. H.R. 2482 does seek to generate more hydropower at the existing facilities by developing conduit and in-canal hydropower, something that we've been looking at with IBEW and NECA, the electrical contractors, to be able to generate electricity that benefits everybody, including farmers. We do support the general intent of increasing the generation at these facilities, at these existing facilities, especially the low-head ones, the low-head hydro. Most of the provisions in the legislation we can support. We cannot support the bill as amended. Developing hydropower can be done without disregarding environmental protections, and I believe we can sit and work it out somehow to be able to cut the time. I believe Secretary Salazar and the commissioners, they've done a great amount of work in being able to work with everybody on both sides. So I'm assuming that that is not going to stop us. So I would very much like to be able to have this provision be considered very seriously. Proponents for exempting the NEPA, National Environmental Protection Policy Act, will argue that regulatory red tape is preventing the development of more hydropower, and I don't think that's so true. The stopback for development is not NEPA. There must be clear process in place for the development of hydropower at reclamation facilities, and developers are looking for clarity and certainty that the project can be developed. Waiving NEPA will not be able to provide that certainty or the clarity that we require. And I do present this and hope that everybody will agree and be able to see this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was telling Congressman Nugent, this is the first time I've been in the inner sanctum, so it's a pleasure to be with you.
That's all.
Okay.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. So, well, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member. Yeah, he told me not to read anything, so I have my prepared statement. So, there it is. We would appreciate your consideration and support of this legislation, and certainly, as Chairman Hastings has noted, we are supporting the modified rule. We do like that open process, and I would like to encourage open debate on the merits of 2842. A good piece of legislation, common sense legislation, that's going to be able to create jobs for Americans, to be able to generate electricity, the cleanest electricity that we can in this country. In fact, we have the evidence in the state of Colorado, my home state alone, that, bless you, that the state of Colorado, through these conduits, and from my part of the country, Doc's part of the world as well, we call them ditches many times, with these small hydropower electric units, we could generate just in Colorado as much electricity as the Glen Canyon Dam. This is a clean energy bill. We are fully supportive of all of the above process, and I think nothing demonstrates this more than pursuing clean hydroelectric power to be able to put Americans back to work. The benefit of this bill is we're going to be able to do it in a cost-effective way by eliminating unnecessary regulations, duplicative regulations, which are inhibiting, because we'd had testimony during committee that exemplified the cost drivers. They're stopping small rural electric cooperatives and ditch companies from being able to put in these units. Beneficial bill that I think that I hope will be embraced by the entire House. So I'm proud to offer this contribution and hope to be able to get the support.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Tipton. Great job in your first appearance here. And let me just say that this is the kind of common sense approach that I think Democrats and Republicans alike can support, and I congratulate all of you on your fine work. Ms. Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask the Chairman if I could recognize some visitors that I have in the audience. Well, that I wouldn't do it.
We're always happy to welcome people. The thing that I find most troubling is that so often constituents of yours come here and they have no idea where grandfather community is. I find that as a recurring thing. I ask them if they know, and they say, well, we sort of heard of Grandfather Mountain, but we don't know where grandfather community is. So are these people from grandfather community?
No, they're
I didn't think so.
They're actually from Davie County.
Do they have any idea? Do you all have any idea where grandfather community? See, then nobody knows where you're from. Nobody knows where you're from, Ms. Fox. But
Well, Mr. Apperson was nodding his head yes. So anyway,
well, it was just
these are the Appersons from Davie County.
welcome. We're very happy to have you all. Hope you have a nice visit.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I don't have any questions, but I want to applaud these folks for doing their part in cutting through or eliminating the need for additional red tape at the federal level. I think anything that we can do to move projects along like this, we need to be doing it. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. Ms. Slaughter. Mr. Nugent.
Mr. Tipton, we're glad that you're here, and I know that the chairman was just having a good sport down there. Why is this so important to you in Colorado in particular?
You know, when we look in Colorado, we have an abundance of agricultural opportunities. This is going to be able to create an opportunity for local water companies to be able to have an opportunity to be able to put in these hydroelectric units and give them some options in a cost-effective way. Right now, we're seeing that because of government red tape, they simply can't afford to put in these units. Once the units are allowed to be put into place, they can sell this electricity back into the grid. This is actually going to be able to create an opportunity to create less demand, having a lower carbon footprint for other areas simply because they can sell this electricity back. They can also use the electricity to be able to generate irrigation, to run pumps. Again, reducing the carbon footprint for the need for fossil fuels in some of these areas. So it's a common sense piece of legislation, not only for Colorado, but for the West.
I have no other questions.
Mr. McGovern. Mr. Hastings. Mr. Chairman, I don't really have any real objection of Mr. Fols's development with bill. So Mr. Tippett piqued my interest by suggesting that, and let's be Colorado specific, how many of these hydro plants have been denied by other energy regulators by the need?
I think it's probably a bigger question of how many have not been able to move forward because of the cost. And that's going to be very hard to be able to qualify simply because when we visited with local water districts, I was in the San Luis Valley. They'd indicated they'd taken a look at it over into Mancos, Colorado, which is right near my hometown. And they said when they tried to explore this, some of the costs that would be associated with that simply wouldn't allow for a payback.
I understand.
So I think that's probably more the question as opposed to being able to give a specific number in terms of how many have been denied. It's because of the regulatory process that we are not taking advantage of a clean energy source that can create jobs. When you get into the 3rd Congressional District of Colorado, we now have better than double-digit unemployment in better than half of the 29 counties that I represent. This is an opportunity.
Well, I hope I get to test that with reference to the FERC versus NEPA. My understanding from the dissenting views is that virtually all of the requests from 2006 to 2010 were granted. And of the 11 in the past year, 9 of them were met, according to the dissenting views, in 40 days. And I just...
You're talking about the FERC?
I'm trying to see, yeah.
Are you talking about the FERC process? Yeah. Let's talk about on the Bureau of Rec side.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is where we're having the roadblock. Let's strip away the unnecessary regulation. Let's not have an area that has already gone through the full NEPA process. Nobody is trying to eliminate the environmental impact, but the fact of the matter is through this canal area, it's already gone through NEPA. It is a disturbed area. No endangered species are involved in the matter of this. The context of this bill limits it strictly to that area that has already gone through a NEPA process. Yet the Bureau of Rec, when we go to that side of the equation, has not been allowing these to move forward. There's been foot dragging, and the regulatory costs of continuing to have an additional NEPA on an area that has already passed through, is man-made, is just a common sense piece of legislation.
I hear you, Ms. Napolitano. You have any reaction to Mr. Tipton?
Well, I'm not from that area, but I have information that tells me that 3 of the projects have been, in the state of Colorado, have been approved. The Carter Lake is awarded Northern Colorado Water Conservancy District through a 6-month process. The Ridgeway project in Ridgeway, Colorado, awarded to Tri-County, signed in February of this year. Just last week, Reclamation announced the South Canal, the Uncompahgre, excuse me, in Colorado. And then the last project is Jordanelle in Utah. So there has been movement. So I question the need to be able to get into this issue of waiving, and that's an issue that I have great concern with.
Would you have a deal? Let me put this in a broader sense, and you've heard this many times from those of us in the West that whiskey is for drinking, water is for fighting, and we saw that on the floor last year with the disagreements on the California water issue. What this bill really does is makes a more efficient use of water. I mean, water passes down the canal, and unfortunately not all of it goes to the crops. It goes back to the Colorado River or Columbia River in my case. And the issue is, okay, how do we utilize this water in a way to get the most efficiency? And when you have to go through the regulatory hoops, as Mr. Tipton said, and duplicate the NEPA process. Keep in mind, an irrigation ditch does violate the land. I mean, because those machines that dig ditches are huge machines, and they don't confine themselves just to the ditch. So all that process is going through. All Mr. Tipton's language essentially says is, okay, we've gone through that NEPA process. Let's not go through it and reinvent the wheel to put something in the canal. And that is the distinction, I think, that needs to be made. But the end result is it makes the more efficient use of water, and that's important in the West.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate not only you being here today and know that the efforts on behalf of not only this committee but also all the members is important to help with water. Water continues to be perhaps our most precious resource, but the effective utilization of that water, Doc, is, I think, Mr. Chairman, is perhaps very appropriate. I can't, well, I sat next to you enough years up here on this dang place, but thank you. Thank you for your attention to this precious resource. It is the lifeblood for much of the West and becoming that way where I'm from in Dallas. And so water issues will continue to dominate what we do. I appreciate you bringing this to the committee today. I yield back.
I should say, Chairman Hastings, that you and I have never fought over water, but we've certainly taken advantage of the first product that you, even though we like different brands. Mr. Polis.
Yeah, I support the bill. Thank you, Mr. Tipton, for coming forward with it. I think, the issue here is this is a bill that may or may not lead to, an additional hydro project. And, here we are spending an evening and then a day tomorrow in the House of Representatives amidst, record unemployment and record national debt, debating something that may have actually no impact and at best would, of course, have a, small positive impact for our state in terms of, hydropower. But I think it sort of shows the lack of real substantive issues that are being brought before us. This bill.
Wait till 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
We have something substantive? Okay, I'll eagerly await.
We're going to build on
In the meantime, I do support this bill. I hope that it leads to some additional hydropower projects. Again, it's generally not the review process that is the make or break aspect of a process. I mean, these are generally billion-dollar projects, and you're talking about yes, administrative overhead associated with this in a little bit of time. That's seldom, and I've never heard of a case where that's what breaks the deal. But by all means, if this brings about more hydropower, I'm all for it. I plan to support it on the floor, and I yield back.
Mr. Bishop. Mr. Woodall. Mr. Scott. Mr. Webster. Thanks to all of you for being here, and that will conclude the hearing for, yes. Sure.
I introduce some statement to the record.
Absolutely. Without objection, anything that you've got, Ms. Napolitano, will appear in the record in its entirety. And we thank you all very much for being here, and congratulations. And that will conclude the hearing portion, and the chair will be in receipt of a motion. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move the committee grant H.R. 2842, the Bureau of Reclamation Small Conduit Hydropower Development and Rural Jobs Act 2011, a modified open rule. Rule provides 1 hour of general debate equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member on the Committee on Natural Resources. Rule waives all points for or against consideration of the bill. Rule makes an order the amendment in the nature of a substitute recommended by the Committee on Natural Resources now printed in the bill as original text for the purpose of amendment and provides that each section shall be considered as read. Rule waives all points for or against the amendment in the nature of a substitute. Rule makes an order only those amendments that are submitted for printing in the congressional record dated at least 1 day before the day of consideration of the amendment and pro forma amendments for the purpose of debate. Each amendment submitted for printing in the congressional record may be offered only by a member who submitted it for printing or by the member's designee and shall be considered as read if printed. Rule provides one motion to recommit with or without instructions. Finally, Rule provides that the chair of the Committee on Financial Services may file on behalf of the committee a supplemental report to accompany H.R. 3606.
You've heard the motion of the gentleman. Any discuss your amendment? If not, the vote occurs in the gentleman's motion. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. And Mr. Bishop will be managing for the majority and Ms. Slaughter for the minority. As I said, we'll be meeting on the Jobs Act tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and we look forward to seeing you all.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. Sessions.
Mr. Chairman, from time to time, there are people who come visit us. Perhaps at the top you introduced others, but I'd like to introduce a very special guest of mine, the gentleman from Dallas, Texas, Ori Raphael, the young man with the big smile back over here.
Welcome, Ori. We're very happy to have
Ori
you.
is a law student with Southern Methodist University, Judge. He is learning, but Ori is up here visiting this week in Washington. I wanted to make
Thank you
sure
very
that
much.
they noted that.
Thank you very much. Without objection, the committee stands adjourned.